It's 3 a.m. Pager duty goes off. Your payment service is down in production. What's the first kubectl command you run? If you hesitated, this video is for you. By the end of this, you'll have a repeatable mental model for triaging any Kubernetes production incident. The kind of structured approach that makes interviewers say, this person has actually done this before. We're walking through a real scenario end to end, not a checklist. Here's the incident. Your team deployed a new version of the payment service 45 minutes ago. 3 replicas, but only one pod is actually serving traffic. Users are hitting 503s. Your SRE lead pings you. Can you look at this? You have kubectl access to the prod cluster. No dashboards preloaded, no runbook for this specific issue. Walk me through how you debug it. That's the interview question, and it's the real question. First rule of production debugging. Start at the cluster level, not the pod level. I see engineers jump straight into logs and waste 20 minutes on the wrong pod. Run kubectl get pods in prod first. You want to see the full picture, which pods are up, which are in CrashLoopBackOff, and critically how many restarts each one has. High restart count means the container is coming up and dying repeatedly, which is different from a pod that never started at all. OOMKilled in the status column means memory limits are the culprit. Image pullback off means the new image tag doesn't exist, or the registry credentials are wrong. Each status is a different debugging path, and you need to know which road you're on before you start walking. So we've got 2 flavors of broken here. One CrashLoopBackOff, one OOMKilled. They need different fixes. Run kubectl describe pod payment. 79F8B6C4R8TNV and prod on the crashing one. Scroll to the bottom. The events section is where the real story is. You'll see the kubectl pulling the image, starting the container, and the exit code it died with. Exit code 1 is application crash. Exit code 137 is the OOM killer. Exit code 2 is usually a config or permission error. Most people ignore the last state field and describe output, but that's where you see what happened the previous run before it restarted. That exit code narrows your search by about 80% before you even look at a single log line. Now we go get the logs. But here's the trap. If you just run kubectl logs payment 79F8B6C4R8TNV and prod, you might get nothing, because the container already crashed and restarted. You need the previous flag to get logs from the dead container. Kubectl logs payment 79FDB6C4R8TNV and prod is previous. Pipe it through a grep c error her or grep I fatal to cut through the noise fast. In our scenario, the logs show panic, runtime error, invalid memory address, followed by a stack trace pointing at a new database connection pool change in this deploy. That's your smoking gun. Also worth checking. If this pod has init containers, they run before the main container and can fail silently. Kubectl logs pod name ncn prod cinit container name. People forget init containers exist and then wonder why the pod never starts. Now let's look at the OOMKilled pod. That's a different problem. Run kubectl top pod and prod to see current memory usage across pods. The one surviving pod might already be climbing toward its limit. Then run kubectl describe pod payment 79F8B6C4 9WQMZ and NPP prod, and look at the limits and requests block. In our incident, the memory limit is set to 256 MI, but this new version of the app loads a larger in-memory cache on startup. It's hitting 260 MI and the kernel kills it. Quick triage question. Is this a legitimate new requirement, in which case you raise the limit, or is this a memory leak introduced in the new build? Check the diff. If it's expected, bump the limit in the deployment manifest and roll it out. If it looks wrong, roll back. Don't just raise limits blindly. I've seen that mask leaks for weeks until the node runs out of allocatable memory. At this point, you have a strong theory, but before you act, verify the timeline. Run kubectl get events and prod. Sort by what metadata to data, creation timestamp, and look at the last 10 minutes. You should see the deployment rolling out, old pods terminating, new pods starting and failing. This confirms the deploy caused it. Then run kubectl rollout history deployment payment in prod to see what changed. If you need to buy time while the team investigates, kubectl rollout undo deployment payment mesh and prod rolls you back to the previous revision in about 30 seconds. In our case, we can see revision 8 was deployed 44 minutes ago, and that's when failures started. The rollback is the right call while developers fix the DB connection pool code. Interviewers love when you mention rollback as a deliberate, timed decision, not panic button pressing. There's a real trade-off between two debugging approaches, and interviewers test this explicitly. Log-based debugging is fast and works even on crashed or restarting containers. It's your first tool, but logs only show you what the developer decided to log. Live debugging with kubectl exec lets you shell into a running container and inspect the actual process state. Check env vars, test network connectivity. Problem is, it requires a running container, and many distroless or slim images don't have a shell at all. Ephemeral containers solve this. More on that in the pro tip. Third option, Stern. It's a third-party tool that streams logs from all pods, matching a label selector simultaneously, which is huge when you have 10 replicas and you're not sure which one is misbehaving. Stern payment on prod gives you a color-coded stream from every payment pod at once. Use all three depending on what you need. Here's the gotcha that burns at least 30 minutes if you don't know it. You update a config map or a secret. Your pods are still running, but the application is still using the old config. Why? Because environment variables injected from config maps or secrets are baked in at pod startup. Updating the config map does nothing to running pods. The pods need to be restarted to pick up the new values. I can't tell you how many times I've seen engineers update a database URL in a config map. Check the config map with kubectl get config map. Confirm it looks right, and then spend 25 minutes wondering why the app is still hitting the old DB. Run kubectl exec pod name nprod env grep db host to see what the running pod actually has in its environment. That command has saved me more times than I want to admit. Here's the one that separates senior engineers in interviews. Ephemeral containers. Your payment service uses a distroless image. No shell, no curl, no netcat, nothing. You can't kubectl exec into it for live debugging. Before ephemeral containers, you'd rebuild the image with debugging tools, redeploy, and hope the bug reproduced. Nightmare. Now you run kubectl debug, it payment, 7D98B664, XK2LP, and prod, image, busybox, target.payment, and Kubernetes injects a temporary busybox container into the running pod, sharing its process and network namespace. You can then run curl localhost 8080 health, checkmatch proc for process D, run netstat to see open connections, all without touching the application container or rebuilding the image. It's been stable since Kubernetes 1.23. If you're not using it, you're missing the best production debugging tool of the last 3 years. So here's the playbook. Get the cluster level view first with kubectl get pods. Read the exit codes. They tell you which debugging path to take. Use year previous to get logs from crashed containers. Use kubectl describe for events and resource limits. Check that running pods actually have the envvrs you think they have. Roll back when you need to stop the bleeding, then fix forward. And use ephemeral containers for distroless images. That's the structured approach that turns a 3 a.m. panic into a 20-minute resolution. Interviewers aren't looking for memorized commands. They're looking for the mental model behind when you use each one. If you want to go deeper, the next video covers Kubernetes RBAC misconfigurations, the kind that let a developer accidentally read secrets cluster-wide. Drop a comment with your worst production Kubernetes incident. Genuinely curious, and some of those stories deserve their own video. Subscribe if you want to